Throughout history, few names have carried the weight of blasphemy, obsession, and fear like Asmodeus. He's not merely a figure of folklore, but one of few demons whose presence crosses multiple religions, cultures, and centuries. From ancient Zoroastrian texts, where he first emerged as a wrathful spirit, to the Jewish Talmud, where he became Asmodeus, the tempter and deceiver, and from there into Christian demonology, where he took his final form as Asmodeus, demon prince of lust. His reputation has only grown darker, more personal, and more dangerous. This video explores his existence through religious texts, banned grimoires, exorcist handbooks, documented possession cases, and much more. So join me as we open the Demonology archives. They descended in silence. Before mankind carved stone into idols or penned prayers in ink, they came. Watchers, cloaked in fire and shadow, bound to the high places of the world. According to the ancient book of Enoch, these were the grimmoires, or watchers, a class of angels set to observe and guide mankind. But in the time before time, they transgressed. 200 of them, led by the arch-rebel Semyaza, abandoned their post and descended upon Mount Hermon. Their oath was not to God, but to each other. And in that blasphemous covenant, they made a pact to take human women as wives, to blend spirit and flesh. The children they spawned were called the Nephilim, monstrous giants, savage and cursed, great men of renown, whose bloodlines poisoned the earth. Among these unions, whispered in apocryphal scrolls and ancient oral traditions, was born something worse, something neither watcher nor man, something corrupt. Asmodeus. Though his name is absent from Enoch's original list of watchers, later mystics and scholars across Judaism, Christianity, and Islam theorized that Asmodeus was the offspring of one of the fallen grimmoires, an immortal woman, possibly even Neme, the demoness daughter of Lamech. This would make Asmodeus not just a demon, but a hybrid of divine rebellion and human lust, a creature born from the first crime of heaven. Where others fell from grace, Asmodeus rose in wrath. He would become the embodiment of unsanctioned desire, of twisted love, and of the rage that blooms when longing goes unfulfilled. He was not the Lord of War, but he would tear hearts from chests. He was not the god of fire, but he would burn cities with seduction and vice. His earliest whispers come not from temples, but from ruined cities. Cities like Eridu, Urgarit, and Uruk, where once sacred rites devolved into blood-soaked orgies, and priests heard voices in smoke-filled chambers. Mesopotamian demonology speaks of Asag, a being whose name is eerily similar and who brought disease and madness through lustful union. Later scholars would retroactively associate Asmodeus with these early figures, but it was not until the Hebrews went into exile that his name was written, etched into parchment, sewn into folklore, and sealed behind divine fear. By the time of the Babylonian captivity, Asmodeus had become known among Jewish mystics and scribes as Asmodeus, the demon of lust, destruction, and vengeance. Yet unlike many demons, Asmodeus has never fully been cast into oblivion. He was too intelligent, too cunning, and too ancient. He knew the tongues of angels and men, and he played them both against each other. The Talmud would describe him as king over all Shadim, spirits that existed in the spaces between heaven and hell. He was not born in a single moment, but forged across centuries, in the primal fears of childbirth, in the sins of forbidden desire, and in the screams of those who died not by sword, but by temptation. He was shaped not in the underworld, but in humanity's reflection, a demon born from what men wanted and could not have. And that is what made him unstoppable. In the book of Tobit, we are introduced for the first time to Asmodeus by name, for she had been married to 7 husbands, but the wicked demon Asmodeus had killed them before they had slept with her. Tobit 3:8. Asmodeus is not just a destroyer, he is the embodiment of obstructed love, twisted jealousy, and rage against holy union. He did not kill Sarah, he possessed her. Not in the sense of rotating heads and split tongues, but something more intimate and more invasive. Her soul had been shadowed by him. The demon of lust made her his own, and anyone who dared approach her in desire was slain before the act could be completed. The text implies his wrath was both personal and ritualistic. He struck 7 times, the biblical number of completion, covenant, and divine judgment. And each time, the act of sacred union was corrupted. What should have been holy became cursed. When Tobias, the son of Tobit, journeys to Media to retrieve his father's silver and marry Sarah, the archangel Raphael appears in disguise, sent by God to aid him. Raphael does not simply offer moral support. He gives Tobias a weapon, a ritual. Take the heart and liver of the fish and burn it to produce smoke in the essence of the man or woman afflicted by a demon or evil spirit, and the affliction will flee. Tobit 6:7. Here we are given one of the earliest formal exorcism rites recorded in ancient literature. Tobias follows the command, and on the night of the wedding, he enters Sarah's chamber and burns the entrails of a fish, the smoke of which repels Asmodeus. The demon smelled the odor, and he fled to the remotest parts of Egypt. There, the angel Raphael bound him. Tobit 8:3. The Book of Tobit is not often classified as horror, yet its roots are soaked in dread. A demon who kills in the bedchamber, a woman haunted, shunned, and shamed for the deaths that she did not cause, and a divine messenger engaging in spiritual warfare on Earth's threshold. And most chilling of all, Asmodeus is not destroyed. He is banished, bound for a time, but never slain, never cast into oblivion. The implication remains that he still waits just outside the veil. In rabbinical and Talmudic depictions, it is said that even kings must kneel before him at least once. He was not born of clay nor crowned by blood. His throne was made of smoke, and his crown of serpents. His kingdom had no borders, only victims. And once, just once, he sat on Solomon's throne. In the great sea of Jewish folklore, the figure known as Asmodeus emerges not simply as a demon of lust, but as a being of immense intelligence, pride, and cunning. Unlike the beasts of pagan myths, Asmodeus was rational, calculating, and terrifying in his human-like craftiness. He did not just haunt, he outwitted, and he did not just tempt, he ruled. Asmodeus appears vividly in the Babylonian Talmud. The tale is as bizarre as it is unnerving. King Solomon, known for his divine wisdom, sought to build the temple in Jerusalem, but he learned that to cut the sacred stones without desecrating them with iron tools he needed a mythical object, the shamir, a worm or stone that could cleave rock without metal. The only being who knew its whereabouts was Asmodee. With the help of his captain, Solomon lured Asmodee into a trap, using chains engraved with a divine name and a wineskin of strong drink. Asmodee was captured and brought to Solomon in these chains, but what followed was no simple imprisonment. For years, Asmodee served Solomon, offering insights, riddles, and strange knowledge. But behind his compliance was hatred and calculation. One day, as a show of confidence or divine arrogance, Solomon removed Asmodee's chains, and the demon struck. Asmodee hurled Solomon hundreds of miles from Jerusalem, stole his ring, which bore the name of God, and took the king's appearance. For 40 days, some say longer, Asmodee sat on the throne in Solomon's form, issuing decrees, seducing women, and spreading chaos beneath the guise of divine authority. Solomon wandered in exile, mad, barefoot, ranting of a demon wearing his face. Few believed him, and only after great tribulation did Solomon retrieve the ring, cast Asmodee back into the underworld, and reclaim his throne. This tale, preserved not in scripture but in oral rabbinic tradition, is no simple fable. It contains layers of cosmic horror. The wisest man alive is overthrown by betrayal, a demon's cunning, a creature that understands sacred law yet perverts it for his own mockery, and a reminder that even the great are vulnerable to spiritual overthrow. Unlike other demons, Asmodee doesn't need claws or fire. He needs only a moment of pride, a misplaced trust, to take everything. Strangely, some mystical writings claim that Asmodee assisted in the building of Solomon's temple once subdued. His knowledge of divine order, geometry, and sacred construction was unparalleled, even among angels. This places him in the paradoxical position of both enemy and contributor to holy things. Could it be that evil was woven into the foundations of the temple itself? Some Kabbalists say yes, that the temple was built not just of stone and cedar, but of compromise. That beneath its gold lay secrets, and that one of the secrets wore a demon's smile. In Islamic lore, there seems to be a jinn connection. They are made of smokeless fire, and they see you from where you cannot see them. That is the ancient warning found in the Quran of creatures called jinn, created long before mankind, invisible and burning. Among them walk the shayatin, the devils, rebels against divine order. And within this firelit pantheon, shadows of Asmodeus linger. Though his name is never directly spoken, yet he is there, by form, function, and fear. The Quran does not mention Asmodeus directly, nor is there an exact linguistic counterpart, but scholars, particularly in Persian, Syriac, and esoteric Islamic commentary, have speculated that certain jinn and shayatin are avatars of echoes of the same primordial spirit. In Surah al-Baraka 2:102, a chilling account emerges, and they followed that the devils had resided during the reign of Solomon. It was not Solomon who disbelieved, but the devils disbelieved, teaching people magic. The verse continues with the mention of Babel, or Babylon, and Harut and Marut, angels who taught mankind how to summon spirits and manipulate the hidden. This was not divine knowledge, it was forbidden power. The devils spread it among men, whispering corruption and teaching them to separate husband and wife, To those with Christian backgrounds, this line sounds eerily familiar. It mirrors Asmodeus's actions in the Book of Tobit, tearing marriages apart through demonic intervention. Though the Quran does not name him, the spiritual profile matches almost precisely. In Islamic folklore, jinn can be good, evil, or neutral. They live, love, marry, and die, but they also possess, deceive, and destroy. Among them are types associated with sexual assault and seduction. The Tsar, for example, is a class of spirit in North Africa and in the Middle East that is believed to cause illness in women, often manifesting through sexual dreams, infertility, or hysteria. Another infamous figure is the Ifrit, a powerful, malevolent class of jinn, often associated with fire, ruin, and rage. The Ifrit has long been invoked in horror tales as being of unrelenting violence and cruelty, appearing in both the Quran and countless Arabic folktales. In some apocryphal Persian texts, a demon known as Ashmedai or Eshem emerges. These writings describe Eshem as a demon of wrath, a being who strikes lovers and ruins families. He is opposed by Sorasha, the angel of obedience, mirroring Raphael's opposition to Asmodeus in the Book of Tobit. He is also a demon that is found in grimoires. By the time the Middle Ages bled into the Renaissance, Asmodeus had fully emerged from scripture and folklore into Western ceremonial magic. No longer a vague adversary or whispered fear, he became a named and ranked demon of the infernal hierarchy, complete with symbols, powers, and prescribed summoning rites. He had become something far more dangerous, a god for sale. Written sometime between the 17th and early 18th centuries, the Lesser Key of Solomon is a grim compilation of magical invocations, demon summoning rituals, and protective seals. It codifies 72 demons said to have been bound by King Solomon himself. In the first and most infamous section, known as the Ars Goetia, Asmodeus appears as the 32nd spirit, ranked as a powerful king under the rule of a Mammon, a demonic prince of the East. He is strong and powerful and appears like 3 heads, the first like a bull, the second like a man, and the third like a ram. He has the tail of a serpent, and from his mouth issues flames. He rides upon an infernal dragon and bears a lance with a banner. Asmodeus is associated with lust, luxury, and debauchery, and is said to teach arithmetic, astronomy, geometry, and handicraft, a clear echo of his role in Solomon's temple and earlier Jewish lore. Yet beneath his scholarly surface lies a disturbing warning. He must be approached with great caution, for if the conjurer is not guarded by the proper rites and protections of the angels, Asmodeus will deceive, destroy, or possess. His wrath is legendary, and his contempt for weakness, especially that of the conjurer, is absolute. In 1818, French occultist Jacques-Colin Plancy published the Dictionnaire Infernal, a dark encyclopedia of demons, complete with grotesque illustrations. By the 1863 edition, Asmodeus was featured prominently. Asmodeus is the demon of lechery. He preserves the secrets of pleasure houses, tempts men into impure acts, and rules over gambling dens and corrupt courtships. De Plancy's illustrations shows a monstrous being with clawed feet, a crown, and wings, holding a scepter, half king and half beast. He was no longer the subtle spirit of Tobit or the manipulative Ashmedai of the Talmud. He was now a fully integrated figure of Christian demonology, adopted into the growing canon of hell's nobility. The Grimmoirium Virum an 18th century Italian grimoire, falsely attributed to Solomon, focuses more explicitly on practical demon summoning. Asmodeus is listed here not just as a name, but as a summonable entity through invocations in Latin, Hebrew, and Greek. In this text, his role is erotic and violent. He grants invisibility during adultery. He can instill uncontrollable desire in any target. These rituals are marked by high risk. Blood, mirrors, and sacrificial fire are commonly required. Should the ritual falter, it warns, Asmodeus may stay, and not as a servant. Asmodeus also appears during the Inquisition and witchcraft confessions. Beginning in the late 15th century and reaching its horrifying peak in the 16th and 17th centuries, the European witch hunts swept across Germany, France, Scotland, and Spain like a plague. Inquisitors under both the church and state extracted testimonies, often under brutal torture, from accused witches, heretics, and apostates. These confessions followed a disturbingly consistent pattern: pacts signed in blood, desecrated crosses, naked gatherings under the full moon, and most disturbingly, sexual intercourse with demons. The demon named most frequently in cases involving lust, fertility, adultery, and sexual assault was Asmodeus. In 1589, in France, a midwife named Jean Rabelais was accused of causing miscarriages, blighting crops, and leading young men into sexual ruin. Under torture, she confessed to nightly visitations by a black ram-headed demon who mounted her in her sleep and whispered the tongues of Babel into her ear. She named him Asmodeus. In 1611, in Bamberg, Germany, Brother Klaus, a monk, was charged with breaking his vows of chastity. He claimed in court that he had been seduced by a female demon, but that her master, a crowned beast with a serpent's tail, watched from the shadows and sometimes took her place. His name, Klaus said, was Asmodeus, and he came to test holy men. In both cases, the accused were executed, burned alive, their screams masked by hymns. The infamous Inquisitor's Manual, the Malleus Maleficarum, or the Hammer of Witches, written in 1487, was compiled by Henrik Kramer, played a pivotal role in reshaping how demons were perceived during trials. Later versions and commentaries began associating the sexual tempter figure with Asmodeus, especially when witches were accused of luring priests into scandal, causing infertility, or having demonic offspring. Some inquisitors even declared that Asmodeus could enter a man's seed, corrupt it, and thus pollute bloodlines. The idea was simple and horrifying. A demon could possess a generation from the womb. By the 17th century, sexual demons were commonly categorized into two groups: succubi, which were female demons who seduced men, and incubi, male demons who assaulted women. Asmodeus was said to command both. He did not appear in every ritual, but where lust and shame intersected, there he reigned. Victims often claimed that a presence entered their bedroom at night, that they would have dreams of being violated, often with animalistic features present, such as horns, scales, or hooves, the sensation of paralysis and burning, and unwanted arousal. From the late 1800s through the early 20th century, Europe experienced what scholars call the occult revival. Disillusioned with institutional religion, intellectuals and mystics turned towards forgotten gods, spirits, and ancient demons. They did not deny the supernatural, but they did invite it. Orders like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Theosophical Society, Ordo Templi Orientis, or the OTO, and fraternal lodges drew from old grimoires like the Goetia, the Grimmorium Virum, and the Dictionaire Infernal, reviving their rituals under the veil of high ceremonial magic. And in many of these texts, one name was marked with lust and danger: Asmodeus. Within these orders, Asmodeus was reimagined less as a grotesque monster and more as a symbolic force, representing libido, hidden knowledge through desire, and wrath turned into willpower. His traditional image of being three-headed, crowned, riding a dragon, was reduced to sigils, tarot archetypes, and planetary associations. But beneath this intellectual repackaging, Asmodeus was still dangerous. His rituals, preserved in grimoire traditions, demanded nudity, sexual acts, bloodletting, or abstinence prior to invocation. For some, these were metaphors. For others, they were literal. Perhaps no occult figure flirted more directly with Asmodeus than Aleister Crowley, the founder of Thelema and self-styled Great Beast 666. Though Crowley rarely invoked Asmodeus by name in his public writings, private journals, such as the Magical Record of the Beast, included coded references to the King of Lust and Amodio, a spirit bound to the sex ritual known as Liber XLIX. Crowley's magic involved sex as a sacrament, including same-sex rites, tantric inversion, and ritual orgasm, all concepts that mirrored Asmodean mythos: interruption of sacred union, twisting of desire into power, and knowledge gained through pleasure, and taboo. It is widely believed that OTO initiates were taught rituals in which Asmodeus was invoked directly, masked in layers of Hebrew, Latin, and gematria. These rites did involve sex, fire, and invocations of Mars. Crowley himself wrote that the pleasures of Asmodeus are the keys to unlocking the temple of man. He did not fear Asmodeus. He worshipped what he believed Asmodeus represented. Separately, legends began to circulate tying Asmodeus to Freemasonry, especially in French and Scottish traditions. In particular, the Château de Rennes-le-Château in southern France, a mystery-rich estate allegedly tied to the Knights Templar, became the focal point of Asmodean myth. In the 1890s, a Catholic priest renovated the church on the estate and installed a statue of Asmodeus at the entrance, one that was grotesque, hunched, and holding holy water. This image of a demon inside a church ignited a century of speculation. Did this priest discover forbidden Templar knowledge? Was the statue symbolic of the church's secret pact with infernal powers? Or did he, as some believed, engage in ritual worship of Asmodeus in exchange for sudden, inexplicable wealth? No confession was ever made, but the rumors, rituals at midnight, gold in the crypt, and orgies within spread like fire in dry hay. There are other notable possession cases as well in which Asmodeus is believed to be tied to. In South Africa, a 16-year-old orphan named Clara Germana Seal began exhibiting symptoms that baffled missionaries and physicians alike. The records, written by nuns of St. Michael's Mission in Natal, reported that Clara understood languages that she had never studied. She displayed supernatural strength, throwing nuns across rooms. She revealed the private sins of those around her, and she had a violent aversion to holy water, crucifixes, and Latin prayers. Most disturbing, the manifestations were described as sexual and blasphemous. She often spoke in a male voice and made obscene gestures toward priests, even during prayer. Though no specific demon was named in the surviving documents, later Catholic scholars and demonologists, especially in post-Vatican II studies, have speculated that the characteristics aligned closely with Asmodeus. Clara's exorcism lasted 2 days, and witnesses claimed that a dark, smoky figure left her body during the final rite. Another case, one that I have covered on this channel, is also loosely associated with Asmodeus. In West Pittston, Pennsylvania, Jack and Janet Smurl and their children claimed they were terrorized by a demonic entity for over 15 years. Their story became a national sensation, eventually drawing the attention of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famed demonologists. Their activity reported foul odors of rotting flesh, violent sexual assaults on both Jack and Janet, growls and shadows moving through rooms, and a black mass that would manifest and vanish on command. Lorraine Warren stated in interviews that the entity was not human and that it was not just a haunting, but a demonic infestation. Though the Warrens avoided naming this spirit publicly, speculative connections in later books and occult forums pointed towards Asmodeus. This was due to the sexual assault of both genders, destruction of intimacy in the home, and the targeting of religious individuals, considering Jack was a devout Catholic. The church eventually sanctioned an exorcism, and though the results were unclear, the family moved, and the phenomena ceased. In modern Catholic exorcism handbooks, Asmodeus is listed among spirits of impurity. Priests are advised to watch for the following signs during possession cases that suggest his presence: obscene speech or gestures during holy rites, sexual nightmares involving beast-like creatures, sudden divorce, adultery, or abuse within families under spiritual attack, fixations on mirrors, self-image, or nudity. In Father Antonio Fortia's field notes, a leading Vatican-trained exorcist, he recounts a case of a Spanish woman who spoke in ancient Hebrew and claimed to be the consort of kings, the one who breaks their beds and names. She repeatedly referenced the burning throne and demanded blood and wine. Fortia never publicly confirmed the demon's identity, but in a footnote, he marked the reference: see Asmodeus, Tobit 3:8. In 2004, a New England-based clinical psychologist by the name of Dr. Keith Callahan privately shared notes with a Catholic diocese involving a patient given the pseudonym Alyssa. Her case presented as hypersexual behavior followed by intense guilt, voices urging her to seduce her father, priest, and therapist, reoccurring dreams of a horned man laying beside her in bed, and sudden violent outbursts during religious exposure. Dr. Callahan, an agnostic, began documenting what he believed were signs of demonic attachment. When he administered an EEG scan during one of Alyssa's states, the results resembled epileptic seizure activity, yet neurologists found no medical cause. She later attempted to unalive herself, according to the diocesan notes, and she underwent a private rite of deliverance, not a full exorcism, but a sanctioned prayer session. Her symptoms improved only after she renounced all sexual contact and spiritual practices, including yoga and meditation. Dr. Callahan's private conclusion: whether psychosis or spiritual, this patient did not invent the name Asmodeus. She had never heard it before, but she drew his sigil perfectly. In the modern day, Asmodeus has taken a new form, one born not in parchment, but in pixels. Online forums like occult and even private Discord servers often report Ouija board sessions gone wrong with the name Asmodeus spelling itself out repeatedly, shadow figures during masturbation or pornography withdrawal, teenagers performing ritual challenges on TikTok involving pacts and summoning rites. Some of the most chilling modern claims here to quote, "I felt something climb into bed with me. It felt like a man. It whispered things that I wanted to hear, but I wasn't alone. After I did the ritual, I couldn't stop thinking about hurting the people I love. And I asked for power, but now I see him everywhere, reflected in glass, in strangers, and in myself." Whether hoax, hysteria, or true spiritual contact, the mythos is certainly very alive. There are mentions of Asmodeus during the Satanic Panic, as well as very real cult and occult-related crimes and their court documents, but I think I'm going to save that for another separate video, so that way I can do a full proper deep dive into what all that contains. But given all that we've delved into today, if someone's obsession, pain, and violation feel external, if their healing comes through exorcising a name, does it matter whether Asmodeus truly exists? Or perhaps worse, does it make him more real if enough people believe he does? Asmodeus survives not because of belief, but because of behavior. He feeds on repetition, the jealousy, the lust, the wrath we hide behind poetry and psychology. Whether you believe in demons or not, one truth remains. The effects attributed to Asmodeus are real, and sometimes so is he. Thank you guys so much for joining me into this deep dive of this very creepy demon here on another episode of the Demonology Archives. I appreciate your patience. I know these episodes aren't for everyone, but for those who've been waiting for them for another installment, I truly hope that it was worth the wait. Please like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're new here, and comment your thoughts down below. You can support the channel by clicking Join Now here on YouTube to become a channel member, or by joining my Patreon at patreon.com/mysteryarchives, or by purchasing my books or merchandise from my official store at mysteryarchives.myshopify.com. Again, thank you all, and I will see you soon with another brand new episode. This has been Cody here at Mystery Archives. Remember to stay safe out there, and take care. I'll see you next time.